Welcome to Raise High here at GW. Chris Caputo, big weekend. You win Davidson, you beat George Mason. Okay, tough loss at UMass. 3 games in a week. How do you manage that? But let's start with Davidson and another overtime game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Davidson, heck of a game, overtime game, had a chance to win it in regulation. Pretty good look at the basket.
Really good look on out of bounds. But you were down 3 and you stole the ball. So let's.
Yeah, Jacoy makes a great defensive play. We always joke defensively, you want to have a guy who's like an Ed Reed type, right?
He's a Ravens fan for the record.
And I'd
He's coming up later.
And Jacoy made a play like Ed Reed there. You know, of course, I like Ed Reed,
Because of Miami.
So he makes that play. We put it in. We had a chance to win regulation, but I was really proud of our guys because we had another overtime game, 3 overtime game in the league that we did not win. And, I thought we played very well. And then just a very quick turnaround, right? You go home that night. You basically do a film session on Sunday. You can't really practice after an overtime game, and really no shoot around. We did a little bit of a walkthrough on Monday morning, and we probably played our best game against George Mason. Came out with a tremendous amount of urgency. A 2:00 game, great crowd at the Smith Center. National television on Martin Luther King Day, and just a great day for us. And then, obviously, go up to UMass in a very, I think against a very good team, had a good half, and then had a very bad half, to be honest. So, that's just a
but most people would take 2 out of 3 in a week.
Yeah, it's ebbs and flow of a league season, and where we stood at that point, I think in a pretty good place.
Going back to the Mason thing, and we talked about this after the Davidson game, you did a good job, but really quickly for our fans, you don't know Tony Skinn was part of the team at George Mason that went to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Really good guy, too. He was at Maryland as assistant. Yep. But now you got to still play him.
Yeah.
Tell us about Tony
Skinn.
Skinn.
I was tremendously proud of him and, success he's had. And I've said over and over, I'm lucky. I don't think I have this job if it's not for Tony Skinn and even Lamar Butler, who's on that staff, who is his backcourt mate. Fowler and Campbell, who works at George Mason. Those 3 guys are all back there now, which is pretty cool. And I've known those guys since they were very, very young, and very, very proud of them. And it's great for George Mason to have those guys back in the building. But certainly there's no morality once you get started, right? We're trying to win, and I thought we had a tremendous vigor as we go into that game.
Sometimes it's fresh legs and not practicing at this time of the year. It's nice that it came up the break. It almost forced you to say, okay, let's take a day off. Coming off a win.
Yeah, you got to win hearts and minds at that moment. Like it's not as much about something that we might be able to get better at, on the court in a 24-hour period, but it's more getting them thinking very much in the mindset that the coaching staff has decided that we want them thinking going into the game.
The league itself, and we're going to talk about that more coming up, but Frank Martin is a friend of yours. Frank Martin, who's the coach at UMass, was at South Carolina, but he started as Steve Blake's coach. He's a Miami guy.
Yeah.
So it's, as you get older, we know more coaches. We like most of them. But Frank has done it. He's in the same situation as you. It's year 2.
Yep.
Tell us about that relationship.
He's done a nice job with his team. Yeah, Frank's a good guy. I spoke last year at the media day. They had me in the middle, and Anthony Grant and Frank, on either side of me. And those guys are best of friends. They were like best men in each other's weddings. They worked at Miami High together for the great Shaky Rodriguez, who's passed away, who was a great high school coach. He was like the Morgan Wooten of Miami. And I was fortunate enough to have a great relationship with Shaky. He was a great guy. His son Eric's a good friend. Eric spent about a week with us here last year, observing practice and games. And I coached Angel Rodriguez, who played for Shaky at Crop High School when he moved over to Crop High School in Miami. And, anytime.
He won NCAA games for you in Providence. I was there, right?
Yeah,
right?
Yep,
right?
they went to Sweet 16 with Angel. And, if you're in Miami, people talk a lot about Anthony and Frank and those guys. I think the city of Miami is very proud of those guys. And we're proud of what we did down there and what we've done in the D.C. area. So I get both cities, which is fun.
That's really good stuff. And I'm going to talk later with Jacoy about his feelings about the DMV. And you don't realize it till you leave it when you come back. And you obviously have made an impact with so many kids on your team from here. Davidson, you're down 3. You decide to press. You get the steal. You've done very well at shortening the game. You stretch it out. You stretch it out in the last minute. You've also kept your young men have done a great job keeping their composure
Yeah.
when things are tight like that. Tell us about that. Are you practicing
I
situations?
learned it from you, being so calm on the sideline.
This would be what he did not learn from me. Tell us, are you doing a lot of situation work at the end of practice?
Yeah, you try to do it a certain amount of time in practice. Certainly, you also try to prepare in the office. Like we have spent a lot of time with the staff, Coach Bovair especially. Like we sit and sort of talked about some of these things. In that particular situation, we threw the ball to half court. We had talked about, okay, what would you do to throw it to half
I
court?
saw that. I didn't do it.
And
You threw it to half court and called
Coach
timeout.
Bovair was sort of drawing that up with the group, we had also decided what we were going to run when it got there. And so Coach Copoise and I were sort of putting people where we wanted. And so as soon as we called that next time out, we already had what we were going to do ready to show them. So, yeah, you try to do your best there, and it doesn't always work in your favor, but, we got a decent look.
You got a very good look. It should have went, but either way, you won in overtime. We got more Coach Caputo coming back when we get back here at Raise High for our second segment.
Security. It's something we all want. Something we need to feel safe. It's everywhere we go. It's in everything we do. But the idea of safety can be overwhelming. How do you secure what you can't see? How do you secure your future? For 80 years, WAEPA's group term life insurance has helped provide financial safety, security, and peace of mind to current and former civilian federal employees. To learn more, visit WAEPA.org.
Welcome back to Raise High here at George Washington. Coach Caputo, we're going to have Jacoy Hutchinson on later, and I'll talk about that. His ability to do a lot of little things that don't show up on the stat sheet. Can you help us with that? And what's he learned this year? What's going on with him? He's playing really well.
Jacoy's a tough guy. He's got a good way about him. He's like, like all freshmen. I mean, there's things that they've got to learn, and there's almost no way to learn unless you're on the job. It's on the job training, and you're going to have some great moments, and you're going to have some moments where you're not as happy with yourself or whatever. But I think thus far, he's starting to play some really good basketball in league, and I've been impressed with his ability to just kind of stay the course.
Yeah, he gets over screens. I always say he doesn't average 5 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists if you're a coach, because he's doing way more than that.
Yeah, no, he's
getting over ball screens.
And
his dunk was nice, by the way.
Yeah, he had a great dunk, and again, obviously we have some freshmen that are having kind of I would say abnormal freshman years, right? But our other freshmen are getting good minutes and getting good opportunity and learning, and I think obviously the future's bright.
Yeah, super bright
for them.
Speaking of future, we have 6 weeks to go, pretty much. The A10, I talked to some different people around the country. 7 teams in the top 100, Dayton number 19. Tell us about the importance of the league doing well.
Yeah.
Well, we want you to do well.
Well, I mean, I think and let's not. I think we're having the best start, one of 10 best starts in the 110-year history of the program. So I think we're doing okay here. And when you look at the league, and I said this at media day as well, like the quality of coaching in the league. Now we're starting to get a little bit of continuity of that coaching, right, and those programs. The coaches that have been at the programs, like a Chris Mooney or a Mark Schmidt or what have you. And so you're starting to see where the league will just continue to elevate. Continuity is so important. You can't change over. We know the players are going to change over now in this day and age, right? Now that the schools in our league have found really good coaching, guys who are very accomplished, maybe some young guys that have shown that they can do the job. Now we keep this together, and the league will elevate.
And go right. And it's no mistake that you probably learned a lot of this at Miami, where Jim Boeheim, Roy Williams, and some guy named Coach K was there.
Yeah, don't forget Tony Bennett and Mike Bray.
And Mike Bray, right.
Rick Pitino.
But those three who've...
Roy Williams.
Well, I mentioned Roy, but my point is, it's good because then when you beat them, that helped Miami. Like all of a sudden, we talked about you going to Sweet 16. We talked about them.
Iron sharpens iron. Iron sharpens iron.
And then it goes up, so you want the same thing here. So it's important that Dayton is number 19 in the country. Yeah. It's important that you become a multiple bid league. Yes. We have a coach coming in here in Fran Dunphy, who's a great guy. Been a long time. He was Gary Williams' assistant. Great guy. Did a great job at Penn, at Temple, back to LaSalle, his alma mater. Yeah. Anthony Grant coached at his alma mater, Dayton. We need George's Army here Saturday, 6 p.m.
6 o'clock game. It's a great opportunity to fill the Smith Center. Students got plenty of time to have brunch all day and then come to the game at 6 o'clock. You probably could even work a nap in there in between. And then, as a young parent myself, like I know kids got a lot of stuff going on during a day on Saturdays. 6 o'clock, perfect. You get them back from whatever they're doing. Maybe they have their own basketball games, and then bring them over to the Smith Center 6 o'clock. We should have a great crowd in the Smith Center Saturday 6 o'clock against LaSalle.
Yes, that's coming up tonight. You need to come here. It's fantastic in person. Watch this. Is a great situation. Fran Duffy and LaSalle will be. They're tough.
Yeah, no, he's a great coach.
He's a really great coach, and that's what's going on in the A10. Where Chris, you and I have talked about this. This program with this history of 17 postseasons, and you're driving towards that. What's kind of the X factor you see coming up in the next 6 weeks?
Well, I just think, again, we're one of the younger teams in the league, so we got to continue to get better. We've said that, all throughout the year, and I hope that we have a big upside here as we get into February, March, because we're learning a lot on the job, as we talked about.
Yes, I mean, Babatunde has become a little more than a shot blocker. He's scoring, obviously, what Garrett and June are doing. Maximus is picking it up. Bishop can do his thing. Next up, we have Jacoy Hutchinson, and he's a DeMatha kid that went to IMG. But once again, the foundation of your recruiting is the DMV. Bringing him back home, how important was that?
Well, it's great. We have Jacoy, obviously, from the area, Garrett and June Buchanan from the area. I always count Trey Autry because he was born here. He lived here until he was, I don't know, maybe about 7 when his parents, his dad got into coaching, transitioned from playing. So that's always going to be so important for us, and I really feel good about that young crew.
Make sure you come out to the Smith Center tonight. Going to be a great game against LaSalle. You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thanks.
We have lots more fun to come here in the Smith Center, and your team plays a very exciting brand of basketball. We'll talk about next show about your offense and how great that is, and it's more fun to watch too.
Gas prices got you fuming? No need to get heated. Save time and money with Metro. Ride, save, explore. Metro.
Welcome back to Raise High. Special guest, Jacoy. What a year you've had.
Yes, sir.
Special guy because he's a DC guy. Then he went to IMG and then came back. Jacoy Hutchinson has been fantastic off the bench. Don't look at a stat sheet because most of the things you do don't show up on the stat sheet. Tell us about what it's like kind of being a true freshman, 6-man, spark plug. But you play a lot of minutes, but you're clearly helping everybody else out there. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's very exciting, the position I'm in. I really enjoyed it a lot. Coming off the bench, we got a lot of great players on the team, but the opportunity to be a 6-man as a freshman and the minutes there for me to take advantage of them, it's been a great feeling.
What have you learned so far this year in your first? Different. It's look, DeMatha, Jordan Hawkins, the historic DeMatha player that you were to go to IMG, a place that's had Jarris Walker just most recently be a lottery pick. But college is different. Tell us what you've learned.
It's very different. It's like I thought playing at the highest level of high school basketball, the transition would be easy. I know it's easier than maybe a lot of other freshmen in the country, but just the pace of the game, the strength of the game, other players, I had to just adjust in that way and not know that I could just get away with a lot of things like getting to the basket as easy as I could in high school. And just it helped me to fine tune the small areas in my game.
Team takeover, Keith Stevens, another storied program. GW, you're trying to get this place back. This is a storied program, 17 postseasons. They've been to NCAA tournaments. You've had NBA players. You have a couple of, Utah's there now. What do you think about being part of that? And was that part of your reason for coming back here? What did Coach Caputo talk to you about when he recruited you? Did you know how good of a program GW once was and how it's going to be again? Did you realize that?
To be honest, I knew a little bit about it, not too much because
you're younger.
I'm younger. But when I heard the type of guys he wanted to bring in, when I was talking to him like June and Gary, and I'm familiar with these guys, growing up with these guys, playing with these guys, so I saw the vision that he had coming in to see we're going to build this program, starting with some DV guys at the root of it, young guys, 3 freshmen. So that was a big thing.
Yeah, and they don't because they've gone to other schools. You're coming in fresh. James Bishop, All League, Max, Rookie of the Year, come back. You've done a nice job of fitting in, but what I give you most credit for is your defense. You get over ball screens.
Yes,
nobody beats you off the bounce. And we know how that important is as coaches. You've done a tremendous job defensively, but You also hit some threes, and you had a nice dunk against Davidson.
Yeah. Just with the defense aspect.
Come on, man, that was a great dunk.
The dunk, I know. So I'll start with the dunk. My teammates get on me in practice a lot, and they say, "Oh, we heard you did this last year. Like at IMG, I had a similar dunk on a fast break steal, and they like, we want to see it in the game. We want to hear you talk about it." So when I got the opportunity, I just had to take advantage of it.
That was a big win in overtime.
Big win, great win.
Your team is playing well. There's lots of things to look forward to, but on a day-to-day grind, not just basketball. How do you like being here in DC after in other words, I think you're a unique guy because you went away, and it's sunny in Florida and IMG, but it's different. The monuments are right here. Tell us, like, how's your campus like? How's school? How has that adjustment been?
It's been pretty different because me being from the area, like you'd be surprised. I haven't really seen I seen the White House for the first time when I got here. I seen like a bunch of monuments for the first time when I got here. Just living around, I drive by all the time, but like now that I'm actually here and close to see it, it's different.
No, I think it's one of the best city campuses in the country, and it's really close. You know, as things go on and politically around here, there's a whole other world besides basketball. Yeah. Are you enjoying your situation here at GW?
100%. We take the time. Like sometimes we go, like the other weekend, a couple of my teammates, we went riding on the bikes, just riding around, seeing different stuff that we never seen before.
The DMV, special place basketball-wise. You told me you went over to DeMatha to watch some other high school games. Yeah. It's one of the things. I caught June over at a Big East game too. That's nice being able to just be a fan once in a while because it's such a you don't know it until you leave here. This is like the best basketball in the country, and you're part of it right 100%. In the center.
100%.
You like that?
I love that. And to piggyback on what you said, I think we got the best players in the country, the DMV area. But just going back and seeing like the younger guys that were like under us, like I played with Takeover and stuff like that, seeing them play in high school now. They're seniors and college coaches watching them now, like, it just give you a whole different perspective.
Yeah, you know how the recruiting war goes. What made you choose GW? What was the one biggest factor to come here?
Like I told you, the DMV part, just bringing the root back here, starting it up and building this like in the city, like I feel like it's a very powerful city, and if we get a team in here that's really good, that we can really make some noise. And like I said, the vision I believe in Coach Caputo, the vision he has for me, I know he like trained he brought a lot of players to the league at Miami, especially my position, point guards. And just the
Isaiah Wong, he's in the Pacers too. He's starting to get a little run up there too. Yes, exactly. But he's had from George Mason through Miami to here. This is going to be your show one day. In other words, tell us about like what you see as the future. And I don't mean, let's not go too far out. But James Bishop is a leading scorer, unbelievable player, Baltimore guy. You know that. So part of the DMV, but. Eventually, this is going to be your team. So are you transitioning into that? Like, how are you working that through? What are you learning from James Bishop that you want to take next year? Not to get too far ahead, but this is going to be your team.
For sure. Just his leadership. I know he might not be as vocal as many people like seeing the game, but like his game speaks for itself. So I think like me stepping into it, like bringing my family out, my friends, everybody from the area that I know, and just packing out the Smith Center, and then that's going to bring the energy that we need.
So, you're going to be a coach one day. Be careful getting into the profession. No, but it's a good one. You have the vision. I can see it. Yeah. Really proud of how well you're playing. You got a bright future. A lot of games ahead. Georgia's Army, they love you. I see them cheering for you. Up next, Kevin Burke's going to be here with Coach McCombs of the women's basketball team.
Raise high. This isn't just our battle cry. It's our call, our challenge. Because when you were called to Washington, you were called to higher expectations, to a higher standard. We are called here to advance knowledge, to serve society, to change the world. This is the George Washington University, and what we make is history. So stand up, be bold, take risks, press on, push harder, raise high.
Welcome back to Raise High at GW. Kevin Burke and head women's basketball coach Caroline McCombs wrapping up the show here today. Coach, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We're hanging in there. It's almost February. It's that time of year. We're a third of the way into conference play. You played a lot of the top teams so far in the league. How have you assessed so far the beginning of conference play?
Yeah, I mean, the league is good. I think there's some teams that are really dominating right now, and then there's a lot of teams in the middle of the pack. And so I think that, we definitely have played some tough competition. We're working to get back in that win column. Our team is determined and committed, so we're going to continue to compete at a high level.
Talk about a Richmond team that hasn't lost in conference play. St. Joe's only lost once or twice, and you played them tight for most of the game, but it just seems to be a little bit different. Does that give you some hope, though, down the stretch that you've played arguably the hardest teams in the league, and you're right there with them at the end?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think our starters are doing a good job. I think we're still trying to get some more depth, so we're fresh throughout the game. And so I think from the second quarter, third quarter, how our rotations are, how we plan all those things really matters. And so as we continue to practice here, now that we're back in school, just working on having good practices. Our scout team is back, which always adds just a little bit more intensity with how they help us prepare for games.
You mentioned the lineups. You've been experimenting with some different lineups, some different rotations really throughout the year. Take us through what goes into that. Are you going matchup by matchup? How is that sort of developing itself here in conference play?
Yeah, I mean, we've had some illnesses, some injuries, so unfortunately those determine lineups at times. I think, really trying to find a place for Maiwa to excel, so putting her back into that 5 position, right, that true center that I think she can really relish scoring and rebounding in. So kind of not playing her and Marin at the same time as we had before. Marin's a very good player too, so we want to make sure she gets in as well. So I think that's kind of been the biggest shift in our positions that we've had as we've gotten into conference season here. And definitely different teams have different matchups. Some teams are a little bit bigger and smaller. When we went to St. Bonaventure, they were really small, right? And so they play a 5-out offense. And so it really allowed us to utilize our guards that game.
Yeah, utilize is one word for what Nia Robertson did in that game. 5 for 5 to start from 3 in the first half. That's just the capability that she has to go off and do that every single night, right?
Yeah, that was a fun game. She was dynamic. She was having a lot of fun. I didn't know how deep she was going to launch it from, but it didn't matter. That shot was going to go in for her. Yeah. So, she was great, terrific, getting us off on that run to start that game, and just kind of seeing her as emerge as a sophomore has been fun to watch.
And you mentioned Maiwa. She had a great game last week against the defending A10 champs in St. Louis, and started to look like the Maiwa of old, right? 13 points, 11 rebounds, and a double-double. How important is she going to be? You probably can't underscore just how important her role will be coming down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. She's a veteran. She's played against all these teams. I think really trying to get her a touch on the ball is really important. It allows our guards to play inside out, and she's really good at facilitating our offense in that way. So just trying to get back to some things that we've done in the past for her to be successful.
Yeah, and you mentioned she's been here for 5 or 6 years, but her role keeps changing, right? So she may be your most veteran player, but she hasn't played with like a Marin where she's been off the ball as like a 4 or 5. So what does that do to perhaps for a player keep changing positions and now put her back in that old role? How do you think that will help her?
Yeah, I definitely think she learned and she grew from her experiences, and I think we learned where she's most comfortable and where she can be most successful. So just as she finishes her college career, helping her to be in that position for herself and for our team.
We're talking about, on a recent podcast, you mentioned that you're talking with other coaches a little bit. There's that fraternity or sorority where like you actually talk about like out of bounds plays or late game situations. Is that really like you're calling up one of your friends being like, hey, tell me about this out of bounds play, or how does that sort of work?
Yeah, I think that coaches, right, you steal from each other, right?
Yeah.
You have those conversations, and so, it's a lot of fun. And, there's something either, you're looking for, they're looking for, offense, defense. It could be a team that you're playing against that they've played in the past. So we definitely have our fraternity or sorority of friends that we lean on and just talk to for advice.
Are you willing to allow a play that you perhaps stole from somebody that worked? Do you have one of those? Or are you not going to share state secrets?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think that, we all have our favorites, and, players score in different ways. And so I think, you just kind of learn those along the way, and find things that you're most comfortable with too.
It's crazy to think about. We're just sharing plays. Obviously not what teams you're playing. Right. That wouldn't make sense. Nobody in the A10 saying, hey, we did this against Mason or we did this against St. Louis, right?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of teams do a lot of the same things, and so you're just always leaning on each other for advice and wisdom.
It's always something to watch for. And Coach, we appreciate the time, and good luck this afternoon against Fordham, and we'll see you at home against Rhodey on Wednesday.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, that'll do it for this episode of Race High at GW. Don't forget, 6 o'clock tonight, GW men's basketball versus LaSalle right here on Monumental Sports Network. We'll talk to you next time.
Security. It's something we all want. Something we need to feel safe. It's everywhere we go. It's in everything we do. But the idea of safety can be overwhelming. How do you secure what you can't see? How do you secure your future? For 80 years, WAEPA's group term life insurance has helped provide financial safety, security, and peace of mind to current and former civilian federal employees. To learn more, visit WAEPA.org.
Make your trip monumental. Sightsee through DC without overspending on gas and ride shares. Experience DC the local way. Ride, save, explore. Metro.